The sprawling suburban home of the Harper family in the leafy outskirts of Seattle buzzed with the kind of polished energy reserved for Sunday dinners. The table was set with crisp white linens, heirloom china, and the weight of unspoken expectations. Dr. Richard Harper, a renowned neurosurgeon, presided at the head, his presence commanding, his voice carrying the precision of a man accustomed to life and death decisions. His wife, Dr. Eleanor Harper, a tenured professor of behavioral psychology at the University of Washington, balanced the conversation with sharp insights and a warm smile. Their eldest daughter, Abigail, 34, was the family's golden child, a rising star at a top-tier Seattle law firm, already being whispered about as a future partner. And then there was Lauren, 28, the younger daughter, whose restless spirit and unconventional dreams made her the outlier in this world of carefully curated success. From the moment she could think for herself, Lauren had been different, where Abigail followed instructions to the letter, excelling in structured environments like debate club or AP classes. Lauren was the one taking apart her science fair projects to rebuild them her way. At 10, when she proposed a radical redesign for her 6th grade robotics project, her father gave her a tight smile and said, "Lauren, sometimes the proven path is the best one. Look at how Abigail's project won first place by sticking to the guidelines." That refrain echoed through her childhood, her creativity framed as a liability rather than a strength. But Lauren was no slouch. She graduated from MIT with dual degrees in computer science and bioinformatics, a feat that made her parents beam with pride at her commencement. They already envisioned her climbing the ranks at Microsoft, Amazon, or perhaps following her father into medical tech. The path seemed clear: join a prestigious firm, secure a corner office, and embody the Harper definition of success. For 2 years, Lauren played the part. She landed a plum role at Health Tech Innovations, a leading Seattle tech company, working on cutting-edge medical software. The salary was 6 figures, the benefits top-notch, and her parents finally had something concrete to brag about at their country club mixers. Lauren's at Health Tech, revolutionizing medical diagnostics, her mother would say, glossing over the growing unease that gnawed at Lauren's core. The job was impressive on paper, but it felt hollow. She spent her days optimizing algorithms for hospital systems that seemed to prioritize profit over patients. She saw firsthand how people with rare diseases struggled to find specialists or clinical trials. Lost in a maze of outdated databases and bureaucratic red tape. Some patients, she learned, didn't survive the wait. It was during one late-night project, staring at a spreadsheet of failed patient referrals, that Lauren had her epiphany. What if she could build an AI-driven platform to connect rare disease patients with the right doctors and trials? Cutting through months, or even years, of despair, when Lauren announced she was leaving Health Tech to launch her own startup, Vital Link, the Harper household went into a tailspin. Her mother offered cautious encouragement. "If anyone can pull this off, it's you, Lauren. Just make sure you've got a safety net." Her father was less diplomatic. "The healthcare system isn't something you just disrupt," he said, his tone heavy with skepticism. "It's complex for a reason." Abigail, already a senior associate at her law firm, raised an eyebrow and asked, "Does your startup even offer dental?" Despite the doubts, the family put on a show of support in the early days. Her parents attended Vital Link's modest launch party in a cramped co-working space. And her father wrote a check for her initial seed funding, though he insisted on calling it an investment. Complete with a contract and projected ROI, Lauren teamed up with Maya Patel, a brilliant coder she'd met at Health Tech who shared her vision for transforming patient care. They rented a tiny office in Pioneer Square, a space that doubled as their crash pad when coding sessions stretched past midnight. Those first months were electric, fueled by caffeine, ambition, and the thrill of building something that could save lives. Lauren's boyfriend, Ethan Brooks, a venture capitalist with a knack for spotting trends, initially loved the idea of dating a future tech titan. He'd introduce her at startup events as the next big thing in healthcare innovation. But as Vital Link's progress slowed, with no flashy milestones to show off, Ethan's enthusiasm faded. "I thought this was going to be a rocket ship. He admitted during a heated argument. I'm starting to think you're chasing a pipe dream. 6 months later, he was gone, saying he needed someone less chaotic. The first year of Vital Link was a grind. But not unexpected. They secured a small round of angel funding from investors intrigued by their mission. They built a prototype platform and began beta testing with a handful of patients, earning glowing feedback from those whose lives were touched by faster connections to specialists. But profitability was a distant dream, and regulatory hurdles loomed like storm clouds. By the second year, the cracks deepened. 2 major funding rounds collapsed at the 11th hour. Their algorithm, though promising, needed constant refinement to handle the nuances of rare disease diagnostics. Ethan's departure stung, but the real blow came from her family. Sunday dinners at the Harper's waterfront estate became interrogations. "How's your little startup holding up?" her father would ask. The word, startup, dripping with condescension. Before Lauren could answer, he'd pivot to Abigail's latest triumph. Abigail just closed a $5 million settlement for a client. Abigail would nod modestly, though Lauren never missed the flicker of satisfaction in her eyes. The holidays were worse. At Thanksgiving, as relatives passed plates of roasted turkey and her mother's famous cornbread stuffing, Aunt Clara leaned in with faux concern. "Are you still doing that tech thing, Lauren? I saw a job posting at Seattle Children's for a data analyst, great benefits." Lauren forced a smile. "I'm building an AI platform to connect rare disease patients with treatments," she explained. "Again, we're making real progress." Uncle Tom, a retired accountant, chuckled. "Progress is great, but are you making money?" The table erupted in laughter, and Lauren pushed her mashed potatoes around her plate. Her appetite gone. Christmas was even more brutal. Abigail announced her promotion to senior counsel over dessert, prompting her father to raise a glass of vintage Bordeaux. "To Abigail," he said, his voice thick with pride. "You've always known how to choose the right path and stick to it." He glanced at Lauren, adding, "And Lauren, we're sure you'll figure things out when you're ready to get serious." The words landed like a punch, but Lauren clapped along, swallowing her hurt. By January, Vital Link was teetering. A server crash took their platform offline for 4 days, derailing a critical partnership with a research hospital in Portland. With their bank account dwindling and a team of just 6, Lauren had no choice but to ask her father for help. They met at his golf club, where he sipped a bourbon and listened to her pitch with the detachment of a loan officer. "So, you need $75 to tide you over until your next funding round?" he asked, peering over his glasses. "Lauren, I've backed your experiment for 2 years. Your mother and I are worried you're stuck in a cycle of chasing almosts without ever breaking through. Have you considered cutting your losses?" Lauren's voice trembled with conviction. "Dad, we're so close. Our algorithm is outperforming anything else out there. We just need a little more time." He sighed. "I'll talk to your mother. But I think what you need is a reality check." 2 days later, a text from her mother arrived. "Family emergency meeting. Saturday, 3 p.m. Please come to the house. It's urgent." When Lauren called to ask why, Eleanor was vague. "Your father thinks we need to discuss your situation. Abigail will be there too." That night, alone in the office, Lauren and Maya hit a breakthrough. Their algorithm reached 92% accuracy in matching patients with rare autoimmune disorders to clinical trials. Maya called at 1 a.m., her voice electric. "Lauren, this is it. This could change everything." But the looming family meeting cast a shadow. "They're staging an intervention," Lauren told Maya. "They want me to shut Vital Link down." Maya paused. "Are you thinking about it?" Lauren stared at the glowing screen, where their latest simulation showed a perfect match for a patient with a rare genetic condition. "I don't know," she admitted. "I'm exhausted from fighting everyone, my family, investors, Ethan. But then I think about patients like Mia, the 14-year-old we helped in our Tacoma pilot. Her mom said we gave her hope when no one else could." Maya's voice softened. "Whatever happens, we'll figure it out. We always do." Saturday arrived like a storm on the horizon. As Lauren drove to her parents' estate, she rehearsed her defenses, knowing they'd likely fall on deaf ears. The circular driveway was packed with cars, her uncle's Tesla, her aunt's Range Rover, and others she didn't recognize. This wasn't a meeting, it was an ambush. Her mother greeted her at the door, her expression a mix of pity and resolve. "Lauren, honey," she said, offering a quick hug. "Everyone's in the great room." Lauren's stomach churned. "Everyone?" she echoed. "Mom, what's going on?" Eleanor looked away. "Your father thinks we need to talk openly about your path." The great room was a tableau of judgment. Her father stood by the stone fireplace, radiating authority. Abigail sat on the sectional, a notepad on her lap, poised as ever. Scattered across the room were Aunt Clara, Uncle Tom, her father's colleague Dr. Feldman, his wife Susan, her godfather Michael, and, most shockingly, her mother's financial advisor. "Karen, what is this?" Lauren asked, refusing the empty chair positioned like a hot seat across from her father. Richard cleared his throat. "Lauren, please sit. We're here because we're worried about the direction you've chosen." Lauren crossed her arms. "And Karen's family now?" Karen shifted uncomfortably, but Richard was unfazed. "She's here to provide a professional perspective. Please, sit." Reluctantly, Lauren sat, feeling like a defendant in a trial. Her father launched into a rehearsed speech. "For 2 years, we've watched you pour your savings, your time, and your talent into a venture that's going nowhere. We can't stand by while you risk your future." Uncle Tom nodded. "I reviewed your business plan, Lauren. The burn rate is unsustainable without major investment, which you haven't secured. That's a red flag." Lauren's eyes widened. "You showed him our confidential documents?" she asked her father. "You showed me when you asked for $75, he replied coolly. Aunt Clara chimed in, her tone syrupy. "Sweetie, no one's saying you're not brilliant. But sometimes the smartest move is knowing when to walk away. I know someone at UW Medicine who's hiring." Lauren's voice rose. "I'm not looking for a job at UW. Our platform is saving lives, patients who'd otherwise be lost in the system." Karen, the advisor, spoke softly. "But is it financially viable? Even the best ideas need a business model." Lauren felt like she was speaking a different language. "We're pre-revenue by design. We're building the network first. That's how platforms like this work." Dr. Feldman shook his head. "I've seen countless medical startups fail because they couldn't navigate the regulatory maze or the economics of healthcare." Michael, her godfather, added, "We're worried about you, Lauren. Ethan was such a catch. And your mother says you're barely living outside that office." Lauren's patience snapped. "Ethan left because he wanted a trophy, not a partner with a vision. And my personal life isn't up for a family vote." Abigail looked up from her notepad. "I've compiled some job leads for you," she said, her tone clinical. "Tech firms would kill for someone with your skills. You could spin this startup as a strength on your resume." Lauren's jaw tightened. "Thanks, Abigail, but I'm not job hunting. I'm the CEO of a company doing critical work." Her mother reached for her hand. "Lauren, we know you believe in this. But sometimes dreams don't match reality. That's not failure, it's life." Lauren scanned the room, seeing faces that claimed to care but couldn't grasp her mission. "Our algorithm just hit 92% accuracy for certain conditions," she said, her voice steady. "That means patients who'd spend years searching for answers can find them in days. That's what I'm building." Her father sighed. "Lauren, everyone wants to change the world when they're young. But there are established systems for a reason. If your idea was viable, wouldn't investors have backed it by now?" Lauren's voice rose. "The system is broken. That's why we're doing this. We have validation, from patients, from doctors and our pilots, from researchers." Richard cut in. "But not from investors with actual capital. Not from people who understand business. Not just ideals." Abigail nodded. "Lauren, I admire your passion. But passion doesn't pay the bills. I worked 8 years for my promotion, discipline, strategy, sacrifice." Richard gestured to Abigail, pride evident. "Exactly. Your sister's a senior counsel while you're playing founder." The words cut deep, and the room fell silent, the weight of his judgment hanging heavy. Lauren stood, grabbing her bag. "We're done here," she said quietly. "Lauren, don't be dramatic," her father began, but she cut him off. "You're not trying to help. You're trying to make me someone I'm not." You've never understood what I'm building because you've never tried. Eleanor's face crumpled. Lauren, your father just wants what's best. Lauren met her eyes. He wants what he thinks is best. There's a difference. As she turned to leave, a sharp buzz broke the tension. Eleanor's phone. Vibrating in her pocket, she glanced at it reflexively. Then froze, her eyes widening. Richard, she said slowly. You need to see this. Richard frowned. Eleanor, we're in the middle of something. But Eleanor was staring at her screen. Then at Lauren. It's a Wall Street Journal alert. She said, her voice trembling. It says, healthcare startup Vital-Link valued at $1.2 billion in potential acquisition talks with MediPharma Global. The room went still. Every head turned to Lauren, who stood frozen, her heart pounding. What? She whispered. Eleanor held out her phone. Lauren, is this your company? The air in the Harper family's great room was thick with tension. The kind that clings to silence like static. Lauren stood, her bag slung over her shoulder, ready to walk out on the intervention her family had staged to dismantle her dream. Her father, Dr. Richard Harper, had just delivered his verdict. Vital-Link, her healthcare startup, was a reckless gamble, a waste of her MIT-honed potential. Her sister, Abigail, sat with a notepad of job leads, ready to steer her back to a respectable career. The rest of the room, uncles, aunts, her father's colleague, even her mother's financial advisor, nodded along. Their faces a mix of pity and judgment. Lauren's voice trembled with defiance as she fired back. You've never understood what I'm building because you've never tried. But before she could storm out, her mother's phone buzzed, a sharp interruption that froze the room. Eleanor glanced at the screen, her eyes widening. Richard, she said, her voice unsteady. You need to see this. She held up her phone, and the Wall Street Journal headline hit like a thunderbolt. Healthcare startup Vital-Link valued at $1.2 billion in potential acquisition talks with MediPharma Global. Lauren's heart pounded as she snatched the phone, her mind racing to process the words. The article, penned by tech reporter Jessica Klein, claimed MediPharma Global, a pharmaceutical giant, was in advanced talks to acquire Vital-Link for its revolutionary AI algorithm, which had achieved unprecedented accuracy in matching rare disease patients to clinical trials. The room erupted into stunned murmurs. Abigail, usually unflappable, was already pulling up the article on her own phone, her lawyer's skepticism warring with disbelief. Is this some kind of mistake? She asked. Lauren's father leaned over her shoulder, his usual air of authority replaced by confusion. Lauren, is this accurate? He asked, his voice softer now, almost reverent. Lauren could barely speak. I don't know, she admitted, her phone buzzing incessantly in her bag. 21 missed calls. Half from Maya Patel, her co-founder, and a string of texts piling up. We've been in early talks with MediPharma about a partnership. But nothing like this. I need to call Maya. Stepping onto the porch, the cool Seattle air hit her like a lifeline. She dialed Maya, who answered on the first ring, her voice electric with urgency. Lauren, have you seen it? The Wall Street Journal. Lauren gripped the railing. Yeah, I just saw it. What's happening? We weren't in acquisition talks. Maya laughed, a mix of disbelief and exhilaration. We are now. David Chen from MediPharma called an hour ago. Their team's been tracking our progress. And your breakthrough last night, the 92% accuracy for autoimmune disorders, pushed them over the edge. They're freaking out over the potential. Lauren's mind flashed to the previous night, when she and Maya had burned the midnight oil, tweaking their algorithm until it delivered near-perfect matches for complex cases. But $1.2 billion? She asked, her voice shaking. That's insane. Maya's tone turned serious. It's not insane when you consider MediPharma spent $4 billion on failed clinical trials last year. Our system could save them billions while speeding up drug development. But here's the kicker, our lawyer, Sarah, thinks they leaked this to the press to lock in a public valuation and pressure us into a deal. Lauren glanced back at the great room, where her family was now huddled around Abigail's phone. Their intervention forgotten. I'm at my parents' place, she said. They were literally trying to shut us down when the news hit. Maya let out a low whistle. That's some cosmic timing. Get to the office. Lauren, Sarah's losing it trying to reach you. We need to meet with the legal team. Like yesterday. Lauren hung up, her hands trembling as she returned to the room. The atmosphere had shifted entirely. Her father was scrolling through the article. His brow furrowed. Abigail was explaining unicorn valuations to their aunt and uncle, who looked like they'd been hit by a freight train. Eleanor stared at Lauren, her eyes brimming with something like awe. I need to go, Lauren announced. There's a situation at the office. Her father looked up, almost sheepish. Lauren, why didn't you tell us you were in talks with MediPharma? She met his gaze. Because we weren't in acquisition talks until, apparently, today, and our partnership discussions were under NDA. Abigail, ever the lawyer, clarified unnecessarily. Non-disclosure agreement. Karen, the financial advisor who'd been ready to bury Vital Link minutes earlier, stepped forward with a forced smile. Congratulations, Lauren. This is extraordinary. Lauren didn't take her outstretched hand. Thanks, but I really need to go. Her father stood, his tone conciliatory. Of course, this is a significant business matter. We didn't mean to keep you. The irony stung, but Lauren held her tongue. Actually, that's exactly what this meeting was for, she said quietly. To stop me. No one met her eyes. As she walked out, Eleanor called after her. Lauren, wait. She caught up on the front steps. Her voice soft. I'm so proud of you. I always have been. Lauren saw the sincerity in her mother's eyes but couldn't forget her silence during the intervention. Thanks, Mom, she said, her voice flat, and drove off into the Seattle dusk. The next 48 hours were a whirlwind. Vital Link's tiny Pioneer Square office became a war room, buzzing with lawyers, advisors, and team members scrambling to navigate the sudden spotlight. Lauren's phone was a fire hose of notifications. TechCrunch, Bloomberg, and Forbes had picked up the story, and their website traffic spiked 4.000% in hours. A video call with David Shen from MediPharma confirmed Maya's report. Their team had validated Vital Link's latest results and saw the algorithm as a game-changer for clinical trial recruitment. Your timing was perfect, David said, his face pixelated but enthusiastic on the screen. That 92% accuracy is unheard of. We want to move fast. By Sunday night, MediPharma sent a preliminary term sheet, a $1.1 billion acquisition offer. Slightly below the leaked figure. Sarah, their lawyer, smirked. They're lowballing to see if the hype's gone to your head. This tech is worth more. Especially now. Lauren and Maya spent the night dissecting the proposal. It's not just about the money, Maya said, her eyes bloodshot from exhaustion. If we sell outright, we lose control. They could turn our platform into a profit machine and sideline the patients. Lauren nodded, thinking of Mia, the 14-year-old from their Tacoma pilot whose rare condition had found a trial match through Vital Link. We built this for people like her, Lauren said, not to pad MediPharma's bottom line. By Monday, the media frenzy intensified. Calls flooded in from distant relatives, former classmates, even Ethan, whose text read, heard about Vital Link's big win. Always knew you'd crush it. Drinks soon? Lauren left it on read, rolling her eyes. Her mother called 3 times before Lauren picked up. We're just worried about you, Eleanor said, her voice tentative. It's all over the news. Lauren sighed. I'm fine, Mom. Just swamped. Eleanor hesitated. Your father feels awful about Saturday. He wants to talk. Lauren closed her eyes. The memory of her father's words, your sister's a senior counsel while you're playing founder, still raw. I can't right now, she said. I'm in the biggest negotiations of my life. I'll call when things calm down. That evening, Abigail showed up at the office unannounced, holding a bottle of Veuve Clicquot. Thought you could use a break, she said, her usual polish softened by uncertainty. And maybe some legal advice from someone who's actually on your side. Lauren hesitated, still stung by Abigail's role in the intervention. But let her in. Abigail stayed for hours, poring over MediPharma's term sheet with a lawyer's precision. These clauses limit your control post-acquisition, she pointed out, if you want to protect your mission. Push for a partnership, not a sale. License the tech, keep ownership, and negotiate oversight. Maya raised her eyebrows. That's brilliant. Less upfront cash. But we stay in the driver's seat. Lauren studied her sister. Why are you doing this? Abigail set down her glass. Because I was wrong. I bought into Dad's narrative without understanding what you're building. And you're my sister. I don't want you getting screwed on the deal of a lifetime. By Tuesday, Vital Link countered with a partnership proposal. A $600 million upfront licensing fee. Performance-based bonuses. And contractual guarantees to prioritize patient outcomes. To their surprise, David Chen didn't dismiss it. Our board wanted a clean acquisition. He said, but your tech's unique. I'll take it to them. Wednesday brought another surprise. Richard Harper at the office. Looking out of place among the whiteboards and coders. Can we talk privately? He asked. In a small conference room. He cleared his throat. I owe you an apology. Lauren, I was wrong about Vital Link. About your vision. Lauren didn't soften. Yeah, you were. He nodded, accepting her bluntness. I've spent my career in established systems. I couldn't see what you were building because it's so far outside my world. But I've been reading about your platform, it's extraordinary. Lauren softened slightly. Thanks, Dad. It's been a long road. He hesitated. Your mother and I were scared for you. The startup world is brutal. And it looked like you were drowning. But that's how innovation works. Isn't it? Years of nothing. Then everything changes. Lauren nodded. That's exactly it. He met her eyes. Whatever happens with MediPharma, I'm proud of you. And I think you should keep control of your tech. It's too important to lose to corporate priorities. 3 months later, Vital Link was unrecognizable. The $600 million licensing deal with MediPharma had transformed their operation. They moved into a sleek downtown Seattle headquarters. Their team swelling from 6 to 60. With departments for AI development, patient advocacy, and regulatory compliance. MediPharma's global network accelerated their rollout, connecting over 6,000 rare disease patients to trials and specialists in months. The testimonials poured in. A father in Ohio whose son found a life-saving gene therapy. A woman in California who'd given up hope until Vital Link matched her to a cutting-edge trial. Lauren bought a modest condo in Capitol Hill. A far cry from the office floor she'd crashed on. Maya paid off her student loans and started a scholarship fund for underrepresented coders. The Harper family dinners took on a new tone. At a June gathering, Richard passed the roasted asparagus and said, I read about your European expansion. Lauren, navigating those regulations is no small feat. Abigail, now advising Vital Link's pro bono legal arm for patients, chimed in. How are you handling GDPR compliance? Those data laws are a nightmare. The conversation flowed, no longer a battlefield but a dialogue. Eleanor watched with a quiet smile, her pride evident. Later, in Richard's study, he spoke candidly. I've been rethinking success. He said, I read about a patient in Denver, a 9-year-old with a rare neurological disorder. Your platform got her into a trial that's turned her life around. That's what matters, isn't it? Lauren nodded. That's why we built Vital Link. A year later, Vital Link operated in 15 countries, facilitating 25,000 treatment connections and becoming the gold standard for clinical trial recruitment. The financial success was staggering. MediPharma's performance bonuses pushed their valuation past the original $1.2 billion, but the real impact was in the lives changed. One morning, Lauren met Lily Carter, a 10-year-old whose rare muscular disorder had been matched to a breakthrough trial through Vital Link. Lily's mother, tears in her eyes, hugged Lauren. You gave us our daughter back, she said, as Lauren stood on her condo's balcony that night, the Seattle skyline glittering below. She reflected on the journey. The intervention that had nearly broken her had sparked a chain reaction, proving that the darkest moments often come just before the dawn. What dream are you chasing that others don't see yet? She thought. Her resolve stronger than ever. Keep going. The breakthrough's closer than you think.